What is up, guys? What is cracking? It is pro wrestling manager, commentator, podcaster, and executive producer of the In Your House Wrestling Podcast, the Con Man, Alakon the Concept House, and I'm in your house to tell you about an amazing event that we're doing November 30th over in Kokomo, Indiana at Outhouse Records. Guys, it is going to be our first ever live In Your House party. It's going to be a movie, ladies and gentlemen. So much things going on. Live bands, and they're going to be playing your favorite wrestling themes. We're going to have wrestlers, costume contests, games that you can win prizes. So many awesome prizes. Over $1,000 worth of prizes. Come out and raffle for a chance to win some of these excellent prizes. And hey, I got a little bit of a sneak preview for you guys of what that you guys could win. And one of those things is AEW World Heavyweight Champion Jon Moxley. Look at that awesome figure. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not it. You're going to see him competing in War Games against the Bloodline 2.0. That's the tribal chief himself, Roman Reigns. Another great prize that you could win if you come in. Get some tickets to raffle, and you could be getting some awesome prizes, such as what I just showed you, and so much more. Once again, we're going to be doing our first ever live podcast where we're going to be giving you our predictions for Survivor Series War Games, and it's going to be myself, the hometown hero, master of ceremonies, Hypocrisy Jones, our game master, the voice, Josh Joseph, the amazing divinely designed Danny O'Neill, and of course the Chaos Goblin himself, Kevin Calloway. Come and join us as we're going to be having an awesome time right before Survivor Series War Games. We're going to be talking wrestling, giving away prizes, playing wrestling themes. Guys, you need to hop on this bandwagon. Get on or get gone, because the household is still going mighty strong. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you November 30th for the In Your House party. Peace.
In your house with O'Con. Hey, O'Con in your house. Hollywood in your house. Hypocrisy's head in the clouds. Curating all kind of loud. Wrestling in front of the crowd.
Step into the ring, it's Monday Night Fire. My rhymes burn hotter than a funeral pyre. I'm the heavyweight champ, you can call me sire. Reviewing raw like a southern rap messiah. Crossing over lines like I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. Flipping opponents like I'm Randy Orton. Dirty South flow, my words they be costing. Every verse I drop got them head nodding. Spit lyrical punches like a ruthless fighter. Got the crowd hype, I'm the crowd igniter. Breaking down the raw matches, no denier. Dirty style rap, I'm the Monday night supplier.
What is up, everybody? It is I, the voice, here on a Tuesday night. And you may be asking yourself, what the hell are you guys doing? Well, yesterday I had responsibilities. Today we're here to make up for it. But this isn't going to be a Raw where we preview because you just watched it. So what the hell am I here to preview? That's a good question. So I'm going to allow my guest host, well, not my guest host, my co-host. They're always here with me. They're not guests. They've been here. You got the blue-eyed villain himself, the Grunmeister, and the Chaos Goblin, Kevin Calloway. What is up, my friends? Hey, it's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
It is.
Yeah,
Wow.
the insanity ensues.
Chaos and even.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got to tag it every time. Tag it, Grun, you know it. So, yes, the chaos ensues here with the Chaos Goblin himself, Kevin Calloway, and the blue-eyed villain, the Grunmeister. How are you fellas doing? How was your weekend? I know yesterday I hit you with the kid had a concert, and everybody was okay with moving this over to, you know what? I'm gonna let you guys say it. Which one wants to introduce what we're doing? Because you guys came up with this, not me. This was you guys.
I'm going to give it to Kevin.
Oh,
Fair enough. So in seeing that we wouldn't be able to do a Monday night due to familial obligations, which is very respectable, and I am glad you were able to see your daughter's concert. That's number one priority, family first.
Yes, it was fun.
However, in that moment, I had a flourish of an idea. There's another wrestling program on a Tuesday.
Oh, there
So
is.
instead of previewing Raw this week, we're going to preview us some NXT because, gentlemen, I've been on here for a little bit now. What, month, 2 months? I don't know. I lost count. But either way, I don't think we've ever talked NXT.
No, we do not talk NXT. Typically I leave NXT to, well, our Wednesday crew, the Raw deal with House and O'Neill, because, well, Annie stepped into the role and she really knew her NXT. So that you are correct. We don't really discuss NXT. And just like on the watch along ECW on Fridays, we had to discuss NXT because they were in ECW's house.
It was
So,
NXT ECW.
exactly. So yeah, you are correct. I'm actually excited to talk about this one.
Same.
I'm so glad you brought it up. And Grun, I know you're an NXT fan.
I am.
You're liking these younger talents coming up and actually seeing them progress. Why don't we before we dive into it, let's get what we normally get out of the way, our nerd shit. Let's get that out of the way. So anything you guys want to talk about outside of the ring is right now. So let's get into it.
As a matter of fact, I'm just gaming, watching, playing Skyrim on my PS5, and I find this video about Resident Evil 9 news, leaks, rumors, whatever you want to call it. And apparently, in the next game that will be coming out, I don't know, next couple years, you will be able to play as one of two mainstream characters from Resident Evil. Characters that we love, characters that have been developed fantastically through the games. Jill Valentine and Leon S. Kennedy.
Oh,
two of my favorites for sure. Other than badass Barry, I like Barry.
Kevin added.
You know what? Barry might be making a return.
Let's go.
Here we go.
I used to call him Barry the Badass as I was playing with him in raid mode for Revelations 2.
Well, I know you, Kevin, you also enjoy the Resident Evil saga
very much.
Is this piquing your interest? Are you getting any ideas of where the story could go? Because right now, I mean, they're just really running with the story. I mean, I've seen it made a huge comeback in the past few years.
So, and we talked a little bit about this. So Grun was able to give me these details. Basically, they're taking the infection from Resident Evil 7 and then the virusy, whatever it ended up being in Resident Evil 8, smashing them together from the sound of it to create a super virus. I think that's the right way to go for the series because you have to up the ante if you're going to make something like this. They did it pretty well when it went from 4 to 5. And then we kind of saw how it went with 6. They tried to make an action game instead of a horror game.
Yeah.
And I get wanting, in theory, to try that. But Resident Evil is at the core of it a survival horror.
Mm-hmm.
It's about preserving your bullets. It's about having that sense of danger. And you never really felt like you were in danger in RE6 because they just kept loading you with bullets. And it was just a hailstorm of it.
Yeah.
It was some ridiculous boss. So what I'm hoping for is that in doing this and bringing back Leon Kennedy, who made a triumphant return to the remake of RE4, and then bringing back another notable one in Jill Valentine, we haven't seen them in this series yet, in this specific trilogy of 7, 8, and 9.
Okay.
I don't suspect they'll do them bad. I suspect those two will be done very well. What I'm worried about is another RE6 situation where they potentially jump the shark. I have a lot of faith in them right now, but I have to put out the concern just in case. I do think they do this right. My wild prediction is that it's not going to be in the game. It's not going to be like it's the villain. Somehow, and I don't know if it'll be Albert Wesker coming back, but a Wesker will be involved by the end of this game.
Grun, how's that tweaking your tweeters over there?
I mean, Albert Wesker, in my opinion, is one of the greatest video game villains of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and like I know I never played RE6, but I've heard plenty of RE6 and know that it was very much divisive at best
Mhm.
among fans. And so I don't see why they, because if you're, he was already infected with the T virus. So if you're only infecting him with this new stronger virus, like it's making clear to them like they may be bringing him back from the dead, but at the same time, like his mind's probably gonna be messed up. He's probably gonna be more evil than he's ever been.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a very interesting to see where the story goes after that, or if it's not Albert, it's his son, who was also introduced in RE6.
I think the son could also be something along those lines. Like they could use him instead. I think that
Right.
would be a very interesting turn of events and a good way to use RE6 for good instead of it being just like wanting to be retconned out, like asking to be retconned out.
Yeah. A little bit
Like,
more from what I remember hearing is that they I do believe that they are going uh the horror survival route,
Good.
understanding that while this seems like it sounds like that it almost sounded like they were trying to find a way to make it a little bit more actiony without making the same mistake that they made in RE6.
Well, they have already been trending that way too.
Hmm.
You look at RE7 to RE8 even.
Hmm.
In RE7, it was very survival. There was not that many enemy types. It was very like, we're going to make you walk through this creepy haunted house. But in RE8, you were almost on the hunt,
Hmm.
but it was a very bleak hunt.
Yeah.
So they made you survive. They made you take your bullets to heart. That's what I'm looking for in RE9. If they're going to give us more action, provide us slightly more bullets. Like just don't give me a plethora of bullets so that I walk in like I'm a walking armada. Like don't do
Yeah.
that because it's going to ruin it.
Oh yeah.
I could see where you come with that. I mean, because honestly, the first, and you go back to the original,
Mhm.
and the pain and the challenge in the whole game was the ammo and being able to know when to conserve it, when to. I mean, you had to build up a whole strategy to
Oh
be
yeah.
Resident Evil
I'd
back in
argue
the
there's
day.
an additional factor to the first game that made it even worse, and that was having to pay to save.
Yeah,
You had to use items in order to save.
yeah.
That was true survival horror. That's brutal.
Yeah, that game, I loved playing it. I loved the challenge, but when they were like, "Oh, we're doing a second one," I said, "Well, I'm not. So you guys all can. I can see that it's picked up. I'll let my friends play it. I'll watch them play it. But and Cheryl, we see you out there. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of the Window Lickers family. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are always here every week, so welcome. There's plates over there and food in the back. Go ahead and grab what you want. We're good with it.
Oh,
All right, guys.
I got a cool aside for a nerd thing that I learned about last week actually after we went
Here
off
we
air.
go.
There's a local brewery in Michigan called New Holland. They make dragon's milk.
Okay.
They are doing a collaboration. Here's where the nerd shit comes in. They're doing a collaboration with Dungeons and Dragons for their 50th
Oh,
anniversary. So they're making like a specific like mead cask bottle of whiskey, and they're
oh,
making a specific D20 beer. And I think that's really cool to be able to see, especially Dungeons and Dragons, to
yeah.
just be accepted way more into stuff and it being able to go about things. Look at Baldur's Gate 3. Look at a lot of things. Like they've tried to do D&D for so long, and I think it's finally starting to pick up. There's literally a D&D club at my high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
that's cool to me.
I remember in school, in high school specifically, there was a group of guys who they played Dungeons and Dragons, and there was our group who played. It was like a similar Dungeons and Dragons, but it was like with superheroes and stuff like that.
Oh,
So, like it was, we all got along. It was a fun time.
there was
But
a
yeah,
there was an armistice.
yeah. But we all kept it under wraps. We didn't let everybody in our school know about it because we were like, not everybody's gonna get this game.
And you
We
know
like
what? I
we
think
enjoy
that's the
playing.
cool part to me is that we don't like us nerds don't have to hide in shadows anymore. It's
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
accepted.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. And plus, you know, they made Lord of the Rings the ultimate like nerd movie for that specific. Like, they walk 3/4 of all the movies.
Like the whole
So,
time is just
yeah.
journey. There is no destination.
Exactly. So it's just a long 3-part Dungeons and Dragons game.
It really is, though.
And I'm there for it. If they did another one today, I'd be right in line waiting to watch it. All right, so we got all our fun stuff out of the way. So now it's time to dig in and talk about what we came here to talk about, and that is NXT. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been watching for the past few years what NXT has actually been about, you're missing out, because it contains some of the youngest, hottest talents out there doing some of the craziest stuff and coming to the main roster. I mean, we've had some greats come to the main roster, but as it sits in today's NXT, guys, what are we loving about this NXT roster? Kevin, why don't you go ahead and start us off, and then Grun pick up right after Kevin.
So I think the biggest thing that I see, and there are many, many pluses to this NXT roster and how they can develop and get larger. But what I'm seeing a huge boon in, especially with the introduction of this Women's United States title, is the NXT Women's Division.
Yeah.
It is arguably better than what they have on the main roster potentially over time.
Oh.
You have people like Zarya coming in, who's an absolute powerhouse. You have, I assume, Jordynne Grace is going to get a contract offer the second her TNA deal is up. The amount of time that they bring her in, she's basically in a tryout phase, and she's knocking it out of the park every single time.
Every single time.
You have Stephanie Vacour, who is an incredible talent, like literally wrestled all around the world and put people over and made them look better. The same can be said about Julia, and she's just getting in there. This doesn't even talk about their homegrown NXT talent.
Yeah, exactly.
Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, like the list goes up. Fallon Henley is impressing me recently. The list literally just continues. I don't see how this doesn't give some level of boon, because even if half of these women pan out on the main roster, you have a whole new division for the next 20 years. I guess what point I'm making and what question I will open up to the group. Give me, since there are so many talents in this, give me 3 prospects from this women's division that you think can really get somewhere. Maybe how would you do it?
Grun, I'm going to give this one to you.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to pick 3 women from the NXT women's division that are currently on the roster.
So we'll take out Jordynne Grace for right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say technically we're not going to put her in, but 3, I think Roxanne Perez needs to be at the top of that list, just because she has really commanded the women's division with this second title reign she's gotten after her first title reign was ended due to injury. So we're definitely seeing the best of Roxanne Perez. As far as how do you bring her up, make her a Mania call up. Like I would not put it past WWE to call her up before the end of next year. I can see that. Fallon Henley, I have to agree with you that Fallon Henley is another one that's very much surprising me, and I am quickly becoming a fan of hers. I was very glad to see that she won the Women's North American Championship. I don't think that she's ready for the main roster yet, but I think this Fatal Influence faction, I think this is going to be what helps mold her into being prepared for the main roster.
I also think it's really helping not JC Jane, who I think was more developed, but I forget who the other woman is.
Not Jax. Nix? Jackie Nix?
It might be that. It's something along those lines. Forgive me for forgetting her name off the top of my head, but she's someone who can still be molded quite well and has
Jasmine.
Jasmine Nix. That's it.
Jasmine Nix. that's someone who still like is in the phase of getting used to being on TV for a regular amount of time and in a prominent position. And I think that faction really helps her
Mhm.
as much as it helps build something around Fallon Henley.
Yeah.
100%.
And what I really like about this division as it is, and I'll let you get back to it, Grun, but like they all seem to lift each other up. It's not, it doesn't seem more focused on one talent. You know, it seems like at NXT, everybody's in it no matter what. So I really enjoy that of this division. Go ahead, Grun.
Sure. The last woman I'm going to put up in the top 3 is Lola Vice. While she's not picking up wins, she's in important matches. She's in big matches. She just had a hardcore match with Jada Parker that very much, I feel, did a lot of justice to ECW and paid a lot of good respect. It was they were violent, they were brutal, and yeah, Jada Parker picked up a big win, but Lola Vice is winning the fans over. She is becoming that that baby face that you want to get behind, that you know is working their ass off, and he's just one mistake here, one mistake there, and it's costing them matches. But you know that they can do it.
No, I agree with all of that. And honestly, I that's my number one pick is Lola Vice. And the way she gets there is doing exactly what she's doing already. Storyline wise, though, that's a little more difficult because we are seeing like this new side to her with this hardcore match that we've seen. So we know she can go the limit in a match when something calls for a big move, a big moment in the match, she can step up and take that. So that's good to know. So when I think about her coming in, I see like she starts going after Mi Chin or something like that.
I was just about to say that because they have, if they're going to go that route, they have around the same role to fill, but Mi Chin has less time left in her.
Yes.
So it's easier to put over someone like Lola Vice. And I'm not saying you take that role away from Mi Chin.
No.
It's more like you put Lola Vice over in some way that they both end up fine on the other side of it.
Yeah. It's like you're almost prepping her for when that ultimately takes over. You know, if Mi Chin, whatever happens in her career, and you have Lola who can just step right up in that slot, kind of take it over. And which that's a very valuable position to be in, to know that they can put you in those spots. I haven't seen a lot of her, but what I have seen, I've really liked. And I don't want to mess up her name. I pulled it up just to make sure. But Sol Ruca?
Ruca. Yeah.
Ruca. Okay. When I've seen her in the ring, I've been very impressed, especially with the way the crowd gets behind her. So I don't really think right now she's ready for that main roster, but I feel like she's in the on deck circle and she's getting in her practice swings, and there's a spot for her. And I personally would love to see her and maybe a Tiffany Stratton, those two kind of go at each other, just because you're getting two different flavors, but kind of not. You know, they're still the same, from the same store, but you know, just a little different. And I think they would put on a banger of a series, and you know, give them a proper series. And I think you would have a really good momentum for Sol to come into a main roster slot, especially with somebody who already has the crowd behind her, like Stratton. I mean, that's how I would do it. I mean, they don't really have too much going on with Sol, unless I'm wrong in that, and you guys know more.
No, there's not too much going on with it right now.
Okay.
No, I think the big thing is, like, she returned last. She came back in the lead up to this previous WrestleMania from injury. So, and by that point, they were they had a lot of other eggs in baskets. They clearly they chose Kalani Jordan to be the winner of the inaugural women's North American ladder match.
Well deserved too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this adversity that Kalani's going through is only going to help her. But yeah, Soul Ruka, like she just came back at I guess a bad time. There are a lot of other pieces moving around, and she has to fight and figure out and justify her being there.
I think Sol Ruka ends up, and this is my prediction for her career, as I see it now. Anything can change based on what they do, booking. So, and this is not a bad position. I have to preface that as a wrestler as well, because I know this position would be lucrative and a good one. I see her slotting into the U.S. women's title and being a mainstay there. I'm not saying that she wouldn't get the odd women's title match or anything along those lines, but the way that her style works is very high octane, and it feels more like a work rate thing, like a work rate title, kind of like how the Intercontinental title works.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's less about the gravitas and more about what's happening in the ring. That's how I see Sol Ruka as is. And again, that's not a bad thing. And the position of being in that mid-card title forever and being trusted there is a good one.
Yeah. I honestly, with her, she gives me like female Psychosis in the ring. Like, just she gives me that type of vibe. Like, she knows how to, Psychosis knew how to get the crowd going and do his little spots. And I just noticed, like, when she'd hit just a slam, and it was a slam that looked powerful, looked like it would keep an opponent down, you know, she knew to look at the crowd. She knew how to, like, taunt at him. And I don't know, there's something there that I think can be taken to the main roster. And we got OG Tony Gonzalez coming in here. How are you doing, Tony Gonzalez? We are talking NXT right now, and I'm going to give you my last one, and I think it's an obvious one. It's just a matter of time. Roxana Perez. She's going. It's just a matter of time.
And I think she slots in early into the women's title. They could go the route. They could go the route of the United States. She could be the inaugural United States women's champion.
It's a possibility.
And I think that wouldn't be a bad route for her to get introduced right into.
Yeah. I mean, she's definitely one of those talents where I feel in any of the storylines outside of, you know, Judgment Day and outside of our women's tag team, she can go into any of these areas, any of these stories and fit in, and people already are about her. I hear her name all the time. And she's impressed me over the past year. I've enjoyed what she's doing. I've enjoyed her being in the WWE. So I think those are my picks. That's what I'm going with. I know they're safe. Maybe Soul wasn't. I don't think too many people are speaking on her, except us nerds who are watching all the time.
So I'll use my time to speak on who I think is going to be the future of NXT Women's Division, because I think a couple of those are going to get called up in the next year-ish.
Okay.
But I think these three end up staying on NXT for a while to build a deeper division and to really show the prowess of it. And that's going to be the three newest signings to NXT, which is going to be Julia, Stephanie Vacour, and Zaria. I think all three of them are going to stay on NXT for a while for various reasons. One, that one of those three is turning heel. Couldn't tell you which one, but I know one of them is. It just depends on what route they want to go. And then also, if they're just signing in, especially with two of them still, they're not necessarily bad at speaking English, but it gives them a chance to really speak that English in front of cameras for an American audience, which is tougher than speaking English for Japanese and Mexican audiences. They expect more because, well, America can be much more cruel about having a dialect, which is an unfortunate reality. That being said, it gives them time to work on that. Zaria is Australian, I believe, or New Zealand.
Australian.
Is it Australian? Okay.
It is Australian. Australia is producing a lot of great talent.
They really are. I think Zaria ends up being the one that goes to the main roster the quickest.
Okay.
that is because she has the physique to be dominating right away. So they might be tempted to call her up even too early before they have something for her. But I think she might end up going on some level of Goldberg run and really
that
put
could
her
be
over
cool.
like they put over Asuka when she first came around.
Yeah.
I think those are the three we're going to see in NXT into the next year, potentially for the rest of next year. And then they'll get called up the year after that. Zarya, I think, is the only one that could go either way. And that's strictly because, again, looking at it as an American business sense, she can speak English fluidly. And she wouldn't have an issue with the translation there.
Yeah.
And I mean that with no disrespect. It just happens to be how American audiences are.
Yeah.
And I
Just
I
speaking
don't
facts.
like it. And I think they've produced like Io Sky and Kairi Sane even better because they just have them speak Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think the WWE fans, at least I noticed this, is when they were doing the Asuka stuff, and even Shinsuke, when they were having him, especially with Shinsuke, they were mixing in his dialect with it and all that. And it was the fans. I know I was one of them. I was praising this. I loved it. It gave it such an authenticity to who Shinsuke is and where he comes from. We've grown to appreciate it, but I know exactly what you're talking about, Kevin. And it is unfortunate, but it is a reality in which we live in. We don't like it, but we live in it because, well, nobody's calling any of us and being like, hey, what do you guys want to change?
No, nobody's calling us for that. Though Big Papa H has been better about showcasing international talents with different dialects and doing it in a way that works instead of the old regime with he who may not be named, who just didn't. I just don't think he got it. Unless they were like the foreign villain, and that's so played out at this point.
That's what made money, though. That's what made money. So that's what he knew.
It's just played out now is the problem.
And that's
then absolutely, but but
we got
now,
OG. We got OG Tony coming in asking a question. How soon do you think somebody gets called up?
Royal Rumble.
So
I think
let me pass this one. Besides a Royal Rumble entry, because I think there's going to be a couple of those, and I don't necessarily consider those call-ups. Are we talking like Royal Rumble, they're going to be called up and stay there?
I don't know, but I'm
not sure. The first one you have to consider is Roxanne Perez, and I think because she's the most ready-made to get called up.
I think so, yeah.
And I think that's the like we were talking about. That's going to be the safe bet to go with because she is so ready right now, and people are talking about her.
They literally kept her down there so that she could help with some of the other women. I can see it as a worker. Because everyone else around her got called up and she didn't. There's a reason for that. It's not because she couldn't get called up. It's because she had to stay down there to carry a women's division when they didn't have the people there yet. Now they do.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of time.
Yeah, he's talking calling up to the main roster and staying. So again, I'm going with Roxanne.
Unanimous Roxanne Perez is, I think, around.
Right now, I really think that's the one who gets called up and stays for a moment. And we also got Ken chiming in, watching and enjoying. Well, we thank you, Ken. Thank you for being a weekly viewer. We enjoy all the comments you have, and we enjoy you watching us. Again, food's in the back. Grab what you want. Your family now. So, Grun.
Yes.
We talked about what Kevin wanted to talk about, and it was the all-amazing women's division of the NXT. So, Grun, the blue-eyed villain, it's time to hear what's going to fall out of that mouth hole of yours. So, go ahead.
Well, I definitely want to talk about them talk about the men's division because the men, it has really found its place. Like it's that you got a lot of people, a lot of guys that are fine. They're at the point where the crowd goes wild whenever you hear their music, whenever you hear their name. Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Tony D'Angelo, Chase U, and even Ethan Page. And I think Ethan Page is the biggest surprise because he's a near 20-year veteran in pro wrestling, and he is and at this point he is
I met the guy. He's pretty nice.
yeah. I mean, every interview I've seen him do, like he is like he lets the real him slip out, and like yeah, he's a man who loves his wife, loves his kids, and loves what he and is happy that he lives the life he's got. And but he is a 20-year night overnight success. This because since coming to NXT, like he has been nothing short of amazing.
I agree with you. I will say this too, how you started this off. I was also shocked that the fans kind of adapted to Ethan. Like he's great at what he is, okay? And what he does, but he also knows how to irritate the bejesus out of people. And I didn't know if the NXT crowd would fall with that, but I'm glad they did. So what is your topic you want to bring into that men's division? Are we talking who's going up? Okay. Are we talking who's making the biggest splash in NXT?
Let's talk about who's getting called up, because you got a handful of people that are ready, are definitely ready for the main roster, but you also have some that might be on the edge of being ready and might need to be split up from their groups.
Okay. So who are you thinking?
Well, I was looking at I was thinking about the family, Tony D'Angelo and his family, and Tony D'Angelo is absolutely 100% ready for the main roster. He will kill it on the main roster, I think. But I am concerned that the best option for him would be to split from the family. Obafemi is another one who is a dominant North American champion, and I can see him having a short run in his NXT champion and then going to the main roster. And if I was going to pick one other guy, I'm going to go with Josh Briggs.
Josh
Briggs. I think he finishes his feud with Brooks Jensen, call him up to the main roster around Mania for a mid-card role, and then that's where you see him really start to evolve and become a main eventer.
Well, I'm cashing in my money in the bank right now, and I'm bringing in my pick to come up to the main roster on a Monday night. Well, it's a Tuesday, but you know what I am saying. And I'm calling up the producer himself, Hypocrisy Jones.
What up, Jones?
What up?
What up,
How goes it? How you doing, man?
I pretty good, man. I just did a little smoke sesh. I had a little left over, and I saw you guys were in here. I was like, oh. Let me see if I can come like infiltrate or immigrate, these waters over here.
Well, you're more than welcome anytime, man. We're talking NXT right now, and I know
I heard, and I didn't hear some names about like call ups. Like I didn't hear no Wesley's. I did like.
Hey, we're not done with the men's division.
All right. This is just one guy's opinion. Just one guy's opinion. There's three other guys here.
You know how I am, bro. Like I come in hot, bro. Yeah, if you gonna bring me in, I'm gonna bring in fire, bro. So like,
we gotta come in with fire. You just came from a smoke sesh.
I mean, that's exactly, bro.
Well, Grun's pitching his talk about the men's division, so that's where we're at right now. So Grun, why don't you give Jones a real recap of what you're asking, and let's get his take on it.
Who's ready to be called up to the main roster? Whether in what just basically that who needs to be called to the main roster? I think Tony D'Angelo needs to be called up without the family, and I think Oba and Josh Briggs are going to be called up as well. But I think Tony G is not far off. Josh, I think he does need a little bit more character, but I think he's just about there.
Yeah,
I can see it. I don't think he's quite ready. As like top bill guys that like I would bring to the main roster, I don't think he's like top of my list right off the bat. But like in your question, my question is like, all right, well, when we think of main roster call ups, we usually think of people that have held up NXT in the most ways. So the first thing we have to do is, okay, think, all right, if these people are going to get called up, who is NXT's real next stars? Who's going to carry that company for the next 6 months to 18 months, whatever the cycle time is for an NXT superstar. And like, I kind of look at that Josh Briggs name as a potential, like, one of those guys that he could be potential next star in NXT. So maybe not call up yet, but give him more of that main event role in NXT.
I think that would give him a lot of help there. Just because, like, I see him being involved in like Dragon Gate and stuff overseas. I think it was Dragon Gate. He's been in the tournaments over there for Japan and everything along those lines. So getting him the experience overseas, getting into new things, and then putting him into a more prominent role and seeing if he sinks or swims to get more character development out of him, I think is the right call.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what Tony brought up, the needing more character, and Jones, what you're bringing up, that's where I think NXT thrives when it's producing talent that's going to come up. They're not only producing the talents for the main roster, they're producing the talents for now in their promotion, what they're doing, their brand, I should say, which is NXT, which honestly, I think that's why when they do make a surprise appearance on the main roster, they get such a pop. Like, I mean, the only people I can remember back in the day getting pops like that was Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Like, no, they don't nowadays. It's like you see somebody. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Jordan Grace when she came, like,
absolutely.
I mean, it was like
so. You see the difference between debuting onto NXT with that and debuting onto the main roster, because we saw that in the last 2 months too.
Very true.
So we see Jordan Grace's, you see the people from TNA like the Rascals get these huge pops because those NXT audiences are smaller. They're more tight-knit to the IWC, the Internet Wrestling community. So they know more of the stuff. They're smarter audiences, so to speak. Because of that, it's easier to get them to do the things that you want them to do. They might fight against some of the things, but it's also a smaller audience to be able to develop all of these things.
Yeah.
Now, the counter one that you see when you debut them right onto the main roster, we saw that with the Motor City Machine Guns. I'm not saying that they're one of my favorite tag teams ever. And I've met both of them. They're incredible. Their psychology is amazing. I'll put them over every time I bring up their name. But we saw the reaction live for them, and it was mostly that people didn't quite know them yet. That has since changed now that they have been out there a couple times. But it wasn't as hot of a reaction as it would have been in NXT. I think it was still the right call to put them on the main roster right away because they were going to swim no matter what. But that's just the difference that you see when you go to NXT first instead of main roster.
And I mean, if I'm going to be a guy looking as a fan, I mean, honestly, from my point of view, their shelf life is not as long. So maybe that's why you don't do the NXT thing, because if you did the NXT thing and just had like a 2-month run with them on NXT and then pop them on the main roster, that pop is huge because they would have built up an NXT. And I mean, come on, the Machine Guns in NXT, come on.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think the way that they ended up booking them was better for them.
Oh yeah, you're 100% on that one.
I agree with the Chaos Goblin there.
Yeah,
that it was 100% better because it was almost equal. Like you can put them on the NXT roster for 6 months, let them run ramshot through the tag division, and then just leave. But like you put them on 2-3 shows, made them the tag champions. Oh, okay. Hey, we really need to watch these guys.
Yeah,
even if I don't know them, I need to.
That's a fair point. I mean, if you see the brand that you tune into every week is putting their money and their belts and their titles on these guys, it is something to watch then. Yeah. And we also have Tony chiming in saying Obi needs a little more time.
Yeah, you know what? Yes and no. I
He's
was going to
almost
talk
there.
about Obi. I was going to talk about old Obafemi. Obafemi is, I think I can say this with no other qualification. He is my favorite thing on NXT right now.
Awesome.
I love Obafemi. I love his size. I love how he uses it. I love his energy. It's everything. He feels like a total package. I would say he needs a little bit more time, but not because he isn't ready for the main roster, because I actually do think he is ready for the main roster. But I'd say he isn't ready not because of himself, but because of the situation he would leave behind. Who else faces Trick Williams?
Right. It's that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gotta be Obafemi. And I think now that
Oh.
Oba has lost the other title, the North American title, he is ready-made to go in there with Trick. And quite frankly, he's ready to go in there and ready-made beat Trick. Because if there's anyone else believable to do it, I think it's Oba.
I fully believe that Oba is the next face of NXT, like for the next foreseeable little while Trick Williams does debut main roster, does get the call up, and we see that sort of shift. I think that he is the face. So you hold him, you cultivate him, and you probably make him a face through this run, because I think we're showing that it can be that he can be that. And I think he's more polarizing maybe as a face than he even is as a heel.
No, there's not an ounce of that I can disagree with you on. Obafemi is
What up, Lou?
What's up, Lou?
What's up,
Thank
Lou?
you for joining us, chiming in with the IYH fam. And yeah, Lou, I'm sorry I showed the guys your little shoot video. Oof, boy, man, I wouldn't come trick or treating at any IYH member's house if I was you, cool noodle boys. You can emote all you want in the chat; it ain't gonna buck us none. But so with the men's division, I'm agreeing with what you guys are talking about. Who's going to come up there? Who's going to be a force to reckon with? And that begs to question, once those pieces are up into the main roster, like a Trick Williams, is it Obafemi that takes that spot? And is he the one who makes it his time?
I think so for NXT, because you got to get some of the guys at the top of the card up now, because they're just ready, and they're going to start, like, Trick is going to start losing momentum if he stays there too long, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you don't move him up with the hot fire that he has under him right now, then you're going to lose a huge opportunity.
It is white
in my
hot.
opinion.
Is he going to be a Rumble surprise?
I can see it.
He will probably be in the Rumble, but I don't know that's when he stays on the main roster. He might stay on the main roster after Mania. My assumption is if you're going to set up a next face of NXT, you have Oba beat Trick at the Mania NXT. And you just debut Trick after that whenever you have it ready.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Monday after Mania, but like soon after.
And OG Tony is chiming in exactly what you're saying at the exact same time. Look at you, great minds thinking alike. All right, Jones, is there any NXT things you want to hit real quick before we bounce on out of here for this Tuesday edition of the preview show?
I really like the work that's been put into the NXT North American Women's title. Kalani Jordan is really good, and I hadn't been overly sold on her, but like I think I'm growing to her, and I like this. I like Fatal Influence. I like what they're going to mean for that division here going forward. I don't know if you guys had hit on that, but like I think it's really interesting, and I think how they're tweaking it and molding this really, really good women's division in development is going to be really promising for later.
Well, just like I said, great minds think alike, chaotic minds think alike, because the Chaos Goblin, that was exactly what he wanted to talk about at the beginning. And we gave our all three.
Actually, you know what? I'll open up the question to you because you weren't here.
Okay.
My question that I posed to the class was, who are your top 3 in the women's division right now because there are many choices, and especially new choices too. And then if you were going to put them up to the main roster, how do you think they're going to fare? What would you do to bring them up? How soon, maybe? Anything along those lines.
Is this just NXT or
Just
just
NXT. So like,
just
and
okay?
specifically signed to NXT. So Jordan Grace doesn't count right now. I assume she will be signed at some point.
She's a not yet.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I like what Kalani Jordan is doing. I think that she could transition to be not a main eventer to the main roster fairly quickly, but I think she will catch on fairly quick. I think she's definitely one to watch for the future. Sol Ruka has been my girl forever, and I don't even know why, but like the way she hits that stunner be like just mind blowing. But everything else that like the way that they're building her right now, I'm enjoying it. She's not stupid surfer girl. She's starting to have layers, and she has thick skin. And then Nikita Lyons, obvious reasons.
Awesome, dude. I said Soul.
He did
It
say
was
so.
my pick, dude. I was like, there's
Love
something
it.
about her, man.
Yeah.
I
That's awesome.
do want to call attention to OG Tony because
Yeah, I'll
I've
pull it
seen
up.
more of this guy. Tavion Heights is definitely someone to watch. I've seen more of his stuff. He's been doing stuff in Japan, and he throws the smoothest belly to belly I have seen since the Steiners.
Sweet. Yeah,
It
we'll
is
check him out.
wild.
Oh yeah.
I'll check him out, definitely. I
He's
love
My
it.
right
eyes
now.
open
He's
for
in
him.
the group with what? No Quarter Catch Crew, I think.
No, yeah.
And they're not really doing too much right now, but they will because all of them have talent.
I love it. I love it. I
Mhm.
love this episode that we just threw together and just kind of went with it. What we know and what we talk about every Monday is wrestling. This is just the brand that switched. All right, guys. So before we get out of here, he's chiming in. OG Tony is letting us know
He is a former Olympic
He
wrestler.
is. Yep.
Tavion Heights is going to be nice, like
Ta-
on some real shit. Like he really is.
Tavion Heights is going to be what Gable Stevenson wasn't. I'm putting it
Thank
on the
you.
line right now.
Yeah, I think it's that.
All right. Well,
Damn.
OG Tony, we are going to give you the first official audience member pin. We're going to put a pin in this Tavion Heights discussion, and we're going to bring that back around when he starts making a little more of a splash and see where we're at with that. But fellas, we've come to the time where, well, everybody gets to plug whatever the hell they want to plug. I don't care what you want to talk about. This is your time, so talk about it. Guest of honor, why don't we give you the floor, because you're the man who's you got a hand in so many honey pots.
Is that me?
Yeah, that's
As you were pointing at you, dog.
Oh, okay, cool.
You're not a regular here.
What up, yo? If you didn't know, my name is Epoxy Jones. Now you know. It's always smoky in Hypadelphia, and which means I always got something going. I just left the smoke sesh to be here, so if you can catch that. We didn't really talk about nothing major, but talked about how we were feeling about last night's women's highlights on Raw. Talked a little bit. I can't even remember because I smoked, but that's just how it be. But it do be like that. But we're gearing up for this in your house party at Outhouse Records, and I know that's so many houses in that sentence, but it flows. But that's November 30th at Outhouse Records, 1090 Sycamore in Kokomo, Indiana. It's from 2 to 5. What we're gonna do is you come in. It's $5 to get in, and we have a shit ton of prizes that we're gonna be raffling off. Your $5 gets you a raffle, and you'll have some chances to purchase some more throughout the day or through while you're there or whatever. We're going to be doing a live podcast. An in your house party podcast. We are going to have live music. We are going to have games and like I said, prizes and chances to win big prizes. One of those being a signed Kurt Angle Funko Pop, which is going to be one of our big prizes that will be raffled off that evening. So come out, check it out. It's going to be fun. Everybody's going to have a vibe. And then you got to come out so you know where we're going to go watch Survivor Series that night privately. Okay, so if you're not there, you're not going to know where we're going to privately go watch Survivor Series. I can't be more blunt about that. We can't watch it in certain places because of certain things, legalities and stuff like that, but we work through this because we're strong and we put in that work, like Al says. But other than that, because I'm talking too much, you can find me on the Kokomo Press. We do shows every Thursday. It's Kokomo Press presents an open mic comedy night at Cooper's Pub in Kokomo, Indiana. If you do comedy, come out. You get 5 minutes. We got 15 slots. Check in with us. It's a fun time every Thursday. And then check me out and trying to be funny elsewhere. I think I might be at a city near you sometime.
Oh, be on the lookout for that.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait. The house party is just, it's going to be so amazing.
I know.
Grunmeister.
Yeah.
Let them know where they can see those blue eyes and those pink cheeks. Talking about your butt cheeks.
Okay. You can find me on Twitch.
He's so thrown off.
I'm violated now.
He's like, no, boys.
Now I'm
done
violated.
with this.
No?
I'm violated. Thank you, Jones.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Oh, man.
You can catch me on twitch.tv/Grunmeister. Sir, you catch me streaming when I'm not doing window liquor stuff, and on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Awesome, Grunt. I'm seeing Lou in the chat. I'm just catching up with that. All right, Kevin Calloway, the Chaos Goblin himself. Let him know what you're into.
Well, I would have had shows this week to plug, but I'm injured. So that is what it is. Extended my knee. It'll be a quick recovery. We just
Good
not
to
going
hear.
to have any shows this weekend. I honestly, I'm not that many places right now. I'm kind of reing up a lot of stuff and making sure I got my my schedules in order so that I can start doing a couple things. But I do have a Twitch channel that I'll be getting back to at some point in the near future. Twitch.tv at Kevin Calloway or /Kevin Calloway Pro. You can follow me on Facebook, Kevin Calloway, and you can follow me on Instagram, Calloway Kevin. Actually, I believe is that one.
Ooh, switched it up on that one.
Gotta switch it
Ooh,
sometimes.
Sometimes you do. All right,
Ninja.
fans, that's where you can find my friends and all what they do. Sounds like a blast. Go follow them. You might get some content. Well, you are going to get some content. It happens all the time with these guys. But for me, you can catch us here, the three, the trios, the Bearded Brigade, whatever you want to call us. You can catch us normal times on Mondays at 7 p.m., an hour before Raw, where we discuss and preview Raw and get you ready for Raw so you're educated. Then on Wednesday, you can jump right over and catch House and O'Neill on the Raw Deal with House and O'Neill. It's a fun time, and you can fact check the shit out of the Bearded Brigade and pick a side. You want to be the Raw Deal over there? You want to be a window licker? You choose. That's what America's about here. So come join us on that day. And then, of course, on a Friday, you can catch me and House when we go to ECW. We go back in time and we watch ECW Hardcore TV. We're following that storyline, and it is hot, hot, hot. It is so hot, Joel Gertner takes off his jacket all the time. It's kind of disturbing, but we like it because we keep tuning in. So should you. And we have some exciting news coming up. Ain't going to tell you now because the boss said shh, but be on the lookout for what we're talking about and put your guesses out there. We've put out some feelers to see what you're doing. So come check us out. Also, I am starting up in 2 weeks the Conspiracy Podcast again, where me and Viking Storm, we are going to hit the seas. There's a lot of seas out there, but the conspiracies is what we're going at. It's Conspiracy at Sea with me and Viking Storm, and that will be on 8 p.m. on Saturday nights, where you can tune in and listen to two guys talk some silly goose nonsense that's not real. None of it's real. But after that, you can catch me on Sunday with the house party, where In Your House throws a party every Sunday mid-afternoon. It's like a brunch. So get your mimosas, get whatever the hell makes you happy, and come listen to us talk wrestling.
I'm gonna come on to one of those and just have mimosa in hand now.
We would love it. It would be so fantastic if you did.
Please do.
And fans, we are going to leave you with the commercial for the show that we're talking about. That is coming up on November 30th. And for me being the game master, we are going to Who Draws Better. That's a Pictionary game. You got to come to see what it's all about. We also are going to have versus matches where you can argue with somebody else and then see who gets the crowd behind you more. Winner gets a prize, and well, we might do a couple rounds of that depending on who wants to join in. So come out there. And we also got a special game for you that's out there if you like a little spice in your life, or if you don't, you better get the question right, because that hot sauce will go on the tongue and it's going to burn. We're not going to give you anything to drink. You got to stay there the whole time. So have some fun with us on November 30th when we have our live house party, and we cannot wait to see you there. So for me, for Kevin, for the Chaos Goblin, Kevin Calloway, the Blue-Eyed Villain, Grunmeister, and Hypocrisy Jones, we will catch you on the flip side. And, well, you know what? Don't drop the soap and keep your windows clean. That's a good way to go about it.
What is up, guys? What is cracking? It is pro wrestling manager, commentator, podcaster, and executive producer of the In Your House Wrestling Podcast, the Con Man, Alaconda Concept House, and I'm in your house to tell you about an amazing event that we're doing November 30th over in Kokomo, Indiana at Outhouse Records. Guys, it is going to be our first ever live In Your House party. It's going to be a movie, ladies and gentlemen. So much things going on. Live bands, and they're going to be playing your favorite wrestling themes. We're going to have wrestlers, costume contests, games that you can win prizes. So many awesome prizes. Over $1,000 worth of prizes. Come out and raffle for a chance to win some of these excellent prizes. And hey, I got a little bit of a sneak preview for you guys of what that you guys could win. And one of those things is AEW World Heavyweight Champion Jon Moxley. Look at that awesome figure. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not it. You're going to see him competing in War Games against the Bloodline 2.0. That's the tribal chief himself, Roman Reigns. Another great prize that you could win if you come in. Get some tickets to raffle, and you could be getting some awesome prizes such as what I just showed you, and so much more. Once again, we're going to be doing our first ever live podcast where we're going to be giving you our predictions for Survivor Series War Games, and it's going to be myself, the hometown hero, master of ceremonies, Hypocrisy Jones, our game master, the voice, Josh Joseph, the amazing divinely designed Danny O'Neill, and of course the Chaos Goblin himself, Kevin Calloway. Come and join us as we're going to be having an awesome time right before Survivor Series War Games. We're going to be talking wrestling, giving away prizes, playing wrestling themes. Guys, you need to hop on this bandwagon. Get on or get gone, because the household is still going mighty strong. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you November 30th for the In Your House party. Peace.
In your house with O'Con. Hey, O'Con, in your house. Hollywood.